Okay, so yeah, we have this new flick called Sacramento. It is directed by Michael Angarano, who co-wrote the film with Chris Smith. They also produced the film along with Sam Gray, Eric B. Fleischman, Stephen Braun, and Chris Abernathy. It is associate produced by Ifran Seddiqui. Peter Erskine took care of the music, right? Another family connection right there. Ben Mullen is on cinematography. Max Goldblatt edits the piece. Right, Lindsay Weissmuller took care of casting. Production design is Susanna Honey. Krista Liu is art direction. Set decoration is Marianne Liu. I'm not sure if they're sisters. Costume design was Anise Castelladi and Hannah Greenblatt. Hair and makeup, all of that. We have Adir Abajo, Irina Campos, Whitney Hudson, Eduardo Mendez, Jerry Oppenheim, Stacy Panpinto, Nina Paskowitz, Lessa Simon, and Michelle Vitone. Right, so our cast, who was in the joint? Well, Michael Angarano also stars in it as Rickey. We have got Michael Cera is his friend Glenn. Right, Rosie, Glenn's wife, is played by Kristen Stewart. And we have Maya Erkson playing Tally, a love interest of Rickey's. And interestingly enough, Michael and Maya are both married. Wait, to each other. That sounded. Yeah, they're married to each other. So, you get that chemistry, right? And you do, I feel that does come across. Dr. Lisa Murray is played by Rosalind Chow. Sal is played by Michael Angarano Sr. Mrs. Crenshaw is played by Bunny Levine. The pharmacy employee is played by Ambar Wright. Jess is played by Iman Karam. And Ariel is played by AJ Mendez. And I have to say, I did think she does look a little bit like Maya Erskine. There's a little bit of a resemblance there. I feel I'm correct. I think she's actually a real life wrestler as well, right? So the baby Ray is played by Shay Gawley. Bob was played by Daniel Edward Mora. Baby Jeff is played by Nora Skudel. Oh, and the toddler version of Ray is played by Leon Angarano. It is all about family, it would seem. You know what I mean? Which is, that's a nice thing to see, right? It's a nice thing. The gist of the film, an energetic and free-spirited young man convinces his longtime friend who's settled into domestic life to go on an impromptu road trip from Los Angeles to Sacramento. So that's the gist. Now, we start off with Rickey. He's by a river, and then we hear a girl shout out to him. She's across, right? That is Tally. Now, first of all, they make a joke about meeting halfway, but they end up, spending time together. Now, we don't know how much time they actually spend together. I don't think that's really covered, right? How long this trip is, but they seem to have formed a bond. So then we are with Jeff, right? Rickey's buddy, played by Michael Cera. And I will say, finally, Michael Cera, Glenn, I said Jeff, didn't I? I think Glenn. Yeah, Michael Cera looks his age now, right? For years, Michael Cera looked so young, it was crazy. But he finally looks his age, you know? Which, like, and that's not to say he looks ridiculously, haggard or, no, he just looks his age now, right? He doesn't look like a little kid anymore. But yeah, so him and his wife Rosie are expecting a kid, but yeah, it's clear Glenn has anxiety issues, right? He's not coping with his life that well, which is a bit of a problem for Rosie. You know what I mean? She's trying to get through this pregnancy. She doesn't need the stress, and Glenn is causing a lot of stress. So when one day Rickey shows up, right, she thinks going on a road trip with him, yeah, would be a good idea. You can see that their friendship isn't as tight as it used to be. But over the course of this trip, we see how they interact. Now, it's one of them films which there's that uncomfortability about it, because you have these two people that are kind of estranged as friends. Well, they haven't met each other, but I think one of them thinks one thing and the other thinks something else, right? So it's playing with that kind of dynamic. Rickey's dealing with a loss and I think commitment issues of his own, So it's all dealing with this and how it's, how they overcome if they do. Now, it is hailed as a comedy. I didn't find it funny, right? I didn't think I laughed at all during the film. But it's not to say people won't laugh. It's just, different humours and all of that kind of thing. As I said, what I did think that the dynamics were handled well, right? Like, as I said, Rickey and Tally, really good chemistry right there. Right, you by the relationship between Rosie and Glenn, right? Even Rickey and Dr. Murray. All of these things work very well, right? You buy Aurelia and Jess are best friends. I think our relationships are solid, are really good, and a lot of the dialogue between these groups and people, these individuals, it works. It feels natural, right? It kind of feels like what that character would say, because obviously we don't have a lot of time with everyone, but the time we do have, I think you do get a sense of who these people are. I mean, obviously there are things you wonder, like, how the fuck is Rosie still with Glenn? You know what I mean? There's certain things that you're like, what? I don't even know, But yeah, it does work as a dynamic, and then also that kind of growth. Now, there is a moment in the film towards the end which does feel a little bit of a stretch, maybe. But I guess when you consider the situation and, the magnitude of everything, you can kind of see how it could happen. you know? So yeah, I think those things, yeah, you can buy into. I do think this might have been made as well when Michael and Maya were expecting their second kid, you know? So yeah, I do think when we see, yeah, that it could be playing into that. But it's a film that reminded me of something like Between the Temples, you know what I mean? Or A Real Pain, right, from last year, which was outstanding. It's one of those films. Or we have, was it Bookworm? I think it's Bookworm, the one with I can't think of homie's name, right? Who is in 50-50 and all them other films. I suppose he's been in films with Michael Cera too. But that film, right? Anyway, yeah, it's one of those type of films, right? That character driven, sidewalks of Manhattan type of thing. You know what I mean? One of those films. So if that's the kind of stuff you enjoy, right, I think Sacramento will work for you. As I said, I didn't necessarily think it was laugh out loud funny. I saw someone write that they laughed at every single joke. So look, again, it's all about humor, all about what works for you. But it does kind of drill into that moment in life, right? When people are transitioning from single to relationships and families, and it's coping with all of that, with work transitions and all of that jazz, you know? So, yeah, it's only just popped up on digital over here. I think it was out earlier in the year in the States. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, and this sounds like for you, you might want to go check out Sacramento.